All
All
right, we
right.
are live.
Now we are happening. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and all the ships at sea. You are watching the Canuck and Yankee show, broadcasting from southeastern British Columbia. And I think the Yankee is, you're in Florida, southern
Southwest
United States.
Florida, Southwest Florida.
Yeah, I guess at one time they didn't like Yankees down there, right? Like in the 1860s and stuff.
Yeah, that's
What
what
I
I
read.
heard. Yep.
They like you now though, right? It's okay.
No, I
Well,
still don't think that. I still don't think they
Florida's
like.
not. Florida's a different kind of place. Um,
Well, South Florida, you don't really get that, but you could get that in northern Florida, Jacksonville, Tallahassee,
yeah,
the northern parts.
but it's
It's
different than
kind
what's
of
known as.
more like the South, and then Southwest Florida's
Oh yeah.
its own thing.
Well, that's very nice. So today we have supply chain and the crisis in supply chain, and we could probably go on for a whole hour or two on the whole thing, but just most people are aware of it, and we're reaching out to our viewers and stuff like that to get feedback and how the supply chain situation is affecting you. And we're going to start with a video. If you want to go over to the media view, I think that's just being called. We got a video about a Canadian. I'm going to start thing out with a Canuck shout out here. And what they have done is streamline systems using blockchain. And so this is a short YouTube video on that, which is the one that is,
CA Company and Walmart.
yeah, and it's KCA for Canada, not California, by the way.
All right, well, let's do it. We'll do the whole thing, 2 minutes.
Yeah, I'll give her.
Few companies have navigated supply chain snafus as well as retail giant Walmart. Its deep pockets allowed it to do things like charter its own ships, but at the heart of its strategy is a cutting-edge solution made in Canada.
Due to the virtue of the way we have designed, Walmart never stopped. So we were part of the essential services.
Toronto-based DLT Labs helped Walmart Canada implement and manage its massive supply chain invoice and payment platform. Using blockchain, the technology that underpins cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, think of this digital ledger as a way to automate transactions and data points using GPS and the Internet of Things to track everything, from shipping routes and delays to truck refrigeration temperatures for food, and keep it securely on one platform. It was up and running just days before the pandemic shut the world down.
The timing was perfect because, of course, supply chains ended up being horrendously stressed.
Supply chain experts say blockchain technology's high cost means it's not the right solution for every business.
I wouldn't say it's adaptable to just everybody as of yet, but it's definitely an emerging technology that we're keeping our eye closely on.
One homegrown solution that's emerged during COVID is a shift to local producers, which lessens dependence on supply chains.
We're finding that one of the best things we can do is, because of the high cost of freight and because of the instability and strong delays in the supply chain, is to find as many great manufacturers in Canada and the United States as we can.
Canadian manufacturing climbed to a 7-month high in October, though it remains to be seen if this is a lasting trend or a flash in the pan.
We have right now something like 12 containers that are caught between Vancouver, the mudslides, and our customers. You have to find other alternatives.
Perhaps the most important lesson learned from the supply chain chaos is that having a plan B and C is no longer optional. Anne Gaviola, Global News, Toronto.
All right.
Yeah. So there you go. And it touched on two different things. One was really high tech and, as they mentioned, more suited to large companies. But the other thing that they touched on was local supplying, which is something that can apply to any company. That's kind of one of those silver linings that we may come out of this with more respect for our local supply chains. Now, one of the big problems that exists right now in the supply chain is at the ports. And this next one is out of BC.CTV News. And it's actually two different things. There's a video that is about the port, and then there's an article that's about the Canadian Railway. So maybe we'll play the video first if we can. Get that called up. And with the video, I'll talk about the what the article is while the Yankee gets the video queued up. It's BCTV. Next one in the show notes.
All right, let me switch over.
Anyway, the article goes about, it's talking about the Canadian National Railway Company, which is the Canada's largest railway operator, and they've restored limited service along the vital supply link last week before opting to proactively close the line again this Monday previous, as they had another round of rain which triggered mudslides, flooding, and debris. Now, the other railway, Canadian Pacific Railway Limited, says service in the region is ongoing, including to the Port of Vancouver. CP cars loaded with prairie grain and fuel entered Vancouver last week for the first time in days after the rail corridor sustained heavy damage in some 30 locations between Vancouver and Kamloops, BC. However, the Calgary-based railway, CP, has said it needs to access Canadian national tracks on its busiest corridor where they share rail infrastructure in order to maximize capacity. So, essentially, the rail lines are coming back and the highways are still very challenged. I'll get into that later. Now, this video is about how the Port of Vancouver, which is Canada's largest West Coast port, and there's only two of them. The other one's far north in Prince Rupert. So you can play this video if you can so desire. Looks like it's up.
Well, flooding, of course, is still affecting supply chains.
Let me get the volume situated.
It's always nice. Yeah,
Here we go.
Flooding, of course, is still affecting supply chains. Both CN and CP Rail's mainline operations out of Vancouver are once again suspended, and that is backing things up at the port, putting the squeeze on small business owners. Ross McLaughlin is here to explain what's going on. Ross.
Well, things are backing up, containers are stacking up, and storage warehouses, they're filling up. The backlog of cargo means some companies are having trouble getting their containers out of the port. A lighting company in Quebec reached out to us today complaining about thousands of dollars in storage fees they're being charged by the terminal operator because of the backlogs, which have been amplified by flooding and extreme weather.
There's no room to put these containers anywhere. There's no warehouses. We have tried. I even tried to go down, even right down to Calgary, to have them delivered to Calgary. Nobody has any room. Somebody has to step up and say, enough's enough.
The federal government has committed about $4 million for land to take the pressure off the backup at the terminals. Small businesses that can't afford the daily fees want some relief. We reached out to the terminal operator in Vancouver, Global Container Terminals, and we're told that the last place that should become a warehouse is the terminal. Waiving the storage fee would have the opposite effect of clearing the terminal. It would become a giant storage warehouse pretty quickly. So there you have it. The Vancouver Fraser Port Authority is preparing 40 acres in the Fraser-Richmond industrial lands to handle the containers. And we're told some of the land should be ready in about 6 weeks to store those containers, which will take the pressure off the terminals. But so far, for small business owners, no relief in the storage fees from the terminal operators.
All right, difficult situation for them. Thanks very much, Ross. Well, flooding, of course.
All right, let's switch over back to the cam view.
Yepers. Yeah, well, and we got another article here, and I'll just go over it quickly with you. Some people are doing quite well in the supply situation. And we got this article out of fortune.com. Shipping container lines on track to make a record-breaking $150 billion this year from the supply chain breakdown. Prices on consumer goods have surged to a 31-year highs as retailers face a very supply chain crisis ahead of the holiday season. But one group is profiting off the Christmas woes and celebrating their very stuffed stockings. Shipping container companies. I am quoting from the article here. I didn't write this, obviously. All right, containing shipping pre-tax profit for 21-22 could be as high as $300 billion, according to Drury, an independent maritime research consultancy, blah, 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 blah. And so they're making a lot of money. Now, as ports and terminals experience delays due to the breakdown in the supply chain, as we witnessed in that previous video, they are essentially becoming parking lots for ships and boxes, allowing container and shipping line companies to continue to charge fees as they wait. Soaring demand for containers and shipment, meanwhile, has led to rapid and drastic fee increases. Okay. And basically, this slowdown is largely because of wait times. And according to this, it's not the carrier's fault because the ports keep them waiting. Sailing schedules are in disarray and the access to container equipment is limited. Nor is it the fault of the ports or terminals as they have become parking lots for shipping of boxes, and because COVID-19 has made them less able to turn boxes efficiently and then have cleaned them from the site quickly due to fewer truck drivers and low housing price space. So essentially, I'm just going to wrap up my coverage on this subject, but it's getting hit from all different angles. It's not just one single problem. It's been blamed on consumers consuming too much, on not enough truck drivers, and all these things are actually true. So it's sort of the perfect storm. And what's it like down there in where you are, wherever the heck you are, somewhere in the Gatorland?
Well, I mean, I haven't seen any kind of shortages. Gas, everything looks fine. Grocery store, all that. But I know in the U.S. they're trying to shift to a 24/7 supply chain to try to fix the issues at the ports.
It still comes down to getting the labor, though, as well. We had the same problem up here, just lack of actual personnel that can fulfill these expanded jobs. I think that the Long Beach port in Los Angeles did switch to 24/7, and that everything's going to help. But I still go back to the shop local, which is really going to help. But I advise people not to shop online if you can avoid it this year, because then it has to get shipped. Support your local store. If they don't have exactly what you want, buy something else. That's my op-ed on the whole thing, because everybody has to do something. So if there's something that you can do, that'll really help out, right?
Yeah. Well, the Los Angeles port has been getting a lot of news coverage, and reading off of supplychaindive.com, they're saying the carriers will provide incentives to importers who pick up a container within the first 8 days of its arrival at the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach. CMA CGM said in a news release, daytime pickups from Monday to Friday will receive an incentive of $100 per container. Night and weekend pickups get $200 per container. The incentives begin December 1st and continue through early March. So they're just trying to throw money at it.
Well, that's going to be the deal. I think it's going to have to be concerted effort on everybody's part. And like I say, it's kind of interesting to see so much demand, consumer demand. And I guess people have extra money, or max out the credit cards, make them feel better by shopping. I know that is when the going gets tough, the tough go shopping. You know that whole one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try it. Moving on, we move on to the British Columbia floods.
All right, now
We
this
covered
is
this last week. Got
now
updates.
this is heartbreaking for me because I am a British Columbian and I know this area rather well. I have friends that live in this area, and we have 3 relatively quick videos. The first one I think puts a personal face upon it. It's the first link in the BC flood show notes, global news, and it's just a real live person, and I think a lot of people can relate to this guy.
Let me switch over.
Yep. It's a very difficult situation. The highway update here is that we only have one road that's functioning east-west, west-east, Highway 3, which is the traditional oldest route through this part of Canada. And that's why Nelson, the small city next to me or near me, used to be the biggest city between Winnipeg and Vancouver because all the rail had to go through here. Now, once again, it is going to be going through here. Okay, here's the video. This is a guy and his story from the Fraser Valley of British Columbia.
This is crazy.
Ground zero on the Sumas River. The pressure, too much to take. You can see the moment the earth crumbles and the dike collapses. Rick Ball's home, one of hundreds of casualties across this vast landscape.
You're homeless right now.
Kind of. I've been just couch surfing basically. I've probably been at 5 different places. Yeah, it's been hitting me a little lately how like sucky kind of the situation is and not having a home or like it's just, yeah, I don't know really where to go.
Ball can't even get home unless he crosses by canoe. His old route obliterated by the power of the water. This was the McDermott Road Bridge before the flood. This is what it looks like now.
Well, thinking back at the moment, even though at that point water was in the house, I don't think I realized how big of a deal it was. And it was just like it was insane. No one's ever seen something like that around here before.
The rain has been relentless. There has been no break for residents living along the Sumas River. The water levels go down and then hours later, they're right back up. The dock over there is usually on dry land. The field behind it flooded once again.
A little nervous because like we've been doing so much work there, gutting the place and getting it all dry, like fans and dehumidifiers running, and now it's creeping up again to the house. It's like, geez, like that was a lot of work we did, and it might just get right back in the house. So it's a little discouraging.
Discouraging because Ball can't afford $30,000 to $50,000 in estimated repairs.
It'll be a lot of money to repair it all, but then it might just happen again. So it's a weird little, like, I don't really know what to do. Yeah. And I don't know if like relief's coming because like home insurance doesn't cover it, but the government's talking about doing like a financial aid, but no one knows what that is.
When nothing is certain, everything is possible. For Ball, it's the only way out of this mess.
I really love it here. And yeah, I would hate to move, but my gut tells me don't worry about it. And my gut tells me keep going on it.
Romina Dea, Global News.
All right.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Pretty devastating stuff.
And I'm using that person as an example of the hundreds, as he mentioned, of people that are affected to varying degrees. There's a village, First Nations village, that I saw footage of, and it's got over 3.5 feet of mud just over the whole thing. Now this next video is out of Global News as well, and there's no audio, so I'll just talk over it and explain why we're showing it. Essentially,
is that another Global News, this one?
Yeah, it's the second one in the show notes.
All right, you ready?
Yeah, you can just play it and I'll talk about it. It's basically showing the type of damage that our highways have sustained. There's one stretch that apparently is about 12 kilometers, 8 or 9 miles. It's been completely wiped out. And the thing about the wipeouts, from what I see, and I think you'll be able to see on this video as it pans down into the trenches, that it's not just the bridge washed out, but that it's bigger than it was before they built the original pass, or the bridge, I should say, over the stream. The stream has grown. That's a much bigger hole than they originally had to span over, and that's true of a lot of these highways. And there's had to be a lot of geological studies, geotechnical studies done for stability and what's going to happen before they can even fix these things. So the long range for this is Highway 1, Trans-Canada Highway, just north of the town of Hope, British Columbia, which is about 100 miles east of Vancouver. And I think there's about 10 or 20 of these type of things along there. The new highway, the Coquihalla Highway, Highway 5, has even more extensive damage, and they do not plan on having that open until probably spring. So it's all about Highway 3. We got one more video for you. This is pretty heartbreaking, especially for anybody that likes animals, which is just about everybody in one way or another. And it just goes over the livestock death toll from the flooding in the Fraser Valley, because it's a major agricultural area, one of the biggest in Canada, if not the single biggest. And this one is out of CTV News. We have three major broadcasters here in Canada: Global, CTV, and CBC, Canadian Broadcasting System. So you can just play the video and it speaks for itself.
We are getting a clearer picture tonight of the devastation the floods had on the province's livestock and the number of animals killed.
Sinjin Alexander is following this in the Breaking News Center.
And we should caution, these numbers are likely to grow. Already they are alarming and not nice to see. 628,000 poultry have been reported dead, 12,000 hogs, 420 cows, and also 110 beehives have been destroyed. As you can imagine, the work discovering and removing these animals has been very difficult. The government calls it heartbreaking and is urging the public to be empathetic.
I've been in constant contact with farmers through the latest series of storms, and they're continuing to show their incredible resilience.
The toll right now is 640,000 animals, and it's because some 800 farms are still under evacuation. That number will likely rise. Mija.
Some staggering numbers there. Thank you, Sinjin. A crucial
All right.
Yeah, and that's probably going to be the last feature we're going to be doing. The weather's gone back to kind of normal, although they are getting snow down there, which is unusual, just what they don't need. And I'll do my quick little op-ed on the whole thing, and that this is a lesson to be learned for all countries and societies. Spend the money on infrastructure before you get this happening. The Fraser Valley did not have to be flooded that way if they had properly addressed the dikes and levees in the valley, which they knew they were supposed to in 1996 report, but they chose to ignore it, and now it's cost way more. So infrastructure, good investment. Speaking of infrastructure, one of our favorite countries, are we going to go to Belarus?
We are. We're going to do that next, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the Canuck and the Yankee show. We both, this is our favorite, unfavorite country in Europe. It's run by a real nutball, and he'll do almost anything to upset the apple cart. It's both a humanitarian crisis and a geopolitical crisis. And I'm going to turn things over to the Yankee because he's got the stuff on here.
Yeah, so basically over
It's a mess.
33,000 illegal migrants out of Belarus have
they've attempted
gone and tried to get into Poland with their final journey to be Germany. But that's not going well. Poland's putting up barbed wire and everything else, trying to prevent them from getting in, and it's getting pretty crazy. I've got a Gravitas video. I'm gonna get that loaded up.
Yeah, and I mean, the buzz is that he got all these people in here so he could use them to upset the apple cart in Poland, and of course,
this is intentional. Releasing these migrants into Poland.
The guy's very creative. I mean, he'll hijack.
And it seems obvious he's working with both Putin in Russia and also Xi Jinping in China.
Wait,
a lot of back channels and communication where they're all conspiring.
Birds of a feather. Birds of a feather. All right.
So let me do a few minutes of this, and then there's another quick video also on it.
That's what we'll talk about now. A migrant crisis, a humanitarian crisis on the Belarus-Poland border. It's becoming worse by the minute. At least 2,000 migrants are stranded at Belarus's border with Poland. Countries on both sides are exchanging jabs. Women and young children are caught in freezing cold. Reports say many women and children are suffering from hypothermia. Many have broken bones. There are pregnant women hoping to cross over to Poland, but they're being greeted with barbed wire and lines of Polish soldiers. The fear is this migrant crisis could escalate into a military clash. Here's a report.
Then Belarus police come, border guards come, followed us. And then they catch us, take an ease. We took an ease like this. In that way, there's a Belarus soldier just this side. He kicked me in the face with his foot. So I passed off about a couple minutes. Broke my nose and broke a bone in here, and my eyes are swollen like that.
Meet Yusuf Atalla. He was born in Syria. His story, like you heard, is not a happy one. Yusuf spent days in forests, nights going hungry. He was assaulted by the Belarusian border police. Yusuf risked his life just so that his story could take a happier turn. Today, Yusuf is speaking to us from Białystok, Poland. He has successfully fled Syria, reached Europe, and is now living under the safe roof of a migrant center. But many have not been able to complete this journey. Less than a 50-minute ride away from Białystok is Poland's border with Belarus. Thousands of migrants are camping here, at least 2,000 of them. They have come from across the world, West Asia, Afghanistan, even Belarus. They have risked their lives by setting out on this perilous journey, and they are now waiting to cross over to their final destination.
I'm gonna do one other video, shorter one, get that loaded up.
Wow.
Also, Gravitas. This puts the number at 33,000. So I'm going to do a minute or two on this one also from Wyon, which is part of Gravitas News Network.
Shifting our focus now amid escalating migrant crisis on the EU's eastern border, the European Union is prepared to unveil new sanctions against Belarus. Sanctions are likely to be extended to including airlines, travel agents and other people that are involved in transporting migrants to Belarus. In the latest, Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko said that the country is working on repatriating several thousand migrants. He added that Belarus could ferry migrants via its state-run airline to Germany if Poland does not provide the corridor. Brussels has blamed the crisis on Lukashenko's regime. The West also accused Lukashenko's government of engineering the crisis. They accused Minsk of encouraging migrants to come to Belarus and then taking them to the border. This allegedly in retaliation against EU sanctions slapped on Belarus for its crackdown on domestic protests last year. Lukashenko, who has been Belarus's leader for the last 30 years, has denied all the charges. His ally Vladimir Putin also rejected West's accusation of being involved in the crisis. He urged the European Union to directly engage with Belarus. The Kremlin said that it was wrong to entirely blame Lukashenko for this. Meanwhile, Germany's foreign minister said that the European Union is far from being at the end of its sanctions spiral against Belarus.
Lukashenko demands that we remove all sanctions. We will give our answer today. We will tighten the sanctions, tighten them against individuals who are involved in these crossings. We will have to talk about the fact that tough economic sanctions are unavoidable, and we will try to make sure that the passengers are not taken onto the planes in the countries of origin.
Thousands of migrants, including women and children, mainly from the Middle East, continue to camp out on the Poland-Belarus border, with temperatures falling and access to their frontier restricted. Fears of a humanitarian crisis have intensified. Migrants have been trying to enter European Union into Poland via Belarus. Tensions soared after coordinated efforts to cross were rebuffed by Polish border guards. Meanwhile, the Iraq government has said that it will organize the repatriation flight for its citizens stuck on the Poland-Belarus border. Baghdad said that around 571 of its citizens are stuck on the border who've said that they are ready to return voluntarily.
Yeah, that's the scene from Poland.
Wow.
Using barbed wire cutters and shovels to try to get through the barbed wire. Pretty crazy scenario, yeah.
They're cornered.
Well, it's basically migrant warfare, right?
Well, it's survival, dude.
Funneling them through there.
I mean, if you're cold and you're hungry and your kid's about to die, you're going to do whatever you have to do. And I don't know, the Mother Teresa part of me is just kind of going, well, yeah, okay, definitely. The guy in Belarus is a total mess, and his buddy over there in Moscow isn't much better. But Poland, I obviously nobody's going to listen to me, but it seems that they're complicit in this as well. They're not letting them in. I know it's 33,000 people, but that's just not a lot of people. I mean, it is and it isn't. I don't know. You got something else too, I think.
Those are the two main videos on it.
All right, that's enough. I'm going to start crying between the BC floods and Belarus. let's go to some lighthearted stuff.
I think we have the daughter of Thanos.
Yeah, no, this is comedy. Yeah. This is comedy compared to the last two stories. All right, ladies and gentlemen, in this corner, we have Elizabeth Holmes. And in the other corner, we have Sonny Baldwin in the All-Star match, coming to you live from Santa Clara, California.
Santa Clara.
Oh, a beautiful place. Here you can get McDonald's, you can get Wendy's, you can get Taco Bell, you can get Chuck E. Cheese. You got it all down there. I know my sister. Well, she used to live in San Jose, but now she lives with the gods or wherever. All right, what do you got? Oh, okay.
We got some videos, so let me get that loaded up.
Right on. And then I've got an excerpt on her side of the story because she's testifying right now.
So let me clean up some of these videos.
By the way, for those of you that don't know about this, you do not have to testify if you are a defendant, but she chose to because she's got.
Well, also, should preface the basics of this is that Elizabeth Holmes founded a company, Theranos, and it was a blood testing company. It was supposed to be able to detect, diabetes, whatever, anything, wide gamut of things. And
in the field,
it was proven rather through the whole process that it didn't work at all. And they were close. It was Walgreens, right, where they were close to getting it.
They had
these blood tests in Walgreens.
Yeah, they had
which is a massive chain, right?
They were using them, and they were getting all these false positives. So, but anyway, she blamed it all on her boyfriend. So, you be the jury. Pretend you're the jury.
So we'll do this first video. It's about 2 minutes or so.
Now to the latest in the trial of Elizabeth Holmes, the disgraced Theranos
All right,
CEO.
Elizabeth, what do you have to say for yourself?
Acknowledging she made mistakes, but her defense is arguing they're not worthy of prison time. Our Emily Aketa has the intimate details revealed this week and breaks down what's to come.
This week, bombshell testimony pulling back the curtain on the life of Theranos founder Elizabeth Holmes, the former Silicon Valley star taking the stand in her own defense, flanked by a growing entourage of sorority sisters. Holmes faces decades in prison if convicted of deceiving investors, doctors, and patients while at the helm of her failed blood testing company.
None of us should be surprised that Elizabeth Holmes took the stand in her own defense. She should feel very confident in her ability to persuade people. After all, she was able to build Theranos from virtually nothing at the age of 19.
The defense submitting Holmes' personal notes, arguing she was under the influence of her second-in-command and former boyfriend, Sunny Balwani. The intimate details show a regimented schedule and strict tenets for herself. I show no excitement. I know the outcome of every encounter. My hands are always in my pockets or gesturing, Holmes wrote on a hotel notepad. Her defense also sharing instructions they say are directly from Balwani. He, too, faces fraud charges. I will learn what makes them tick and use that as bait to motivate them, Balwani wrote for Holmes.
My life is about this company, and it's about serving this company and doing the right thing for this company.
In stark contrast to her poised nature seen in the media, Holmes unveiling a more vulnerable side, tearfully accusing Balwani of emotionally and sexually abusing her, something the former Theranos president has denied.
You're one of the few people that has been able to see Elizabeth Holmes on the stand. Talk to me about what that's been like.
It has been an eye-opening experience. She has appeared quite different than the Elizabeth Holmes you and I saw in her heyday. Came across as a strong, fearless CEO mirroring her idol Steve Jobs. On the stand, her defense team has really softened her image. At times she has broken down. At times she has been very happy, smiley, laughing, even apologizing.
Prosecutors will continue questioning Holmes next Tuesday and will likely underscore her recent testimony that not only did she add pharmaceutical company logos to the Theranos lab reports without authorization, but she altered some of the language. And Tom, legal experts say jury deliberations could begin by the end of next week.
All right, I'll get another one loaded up here, but
Elizabeth Holmes.
Absolutely extraordinary case here, where she started the company at 19 and was able to get an enormous amount of funding. She got on all the media circuits, and was able to basically the company was valued and around, I believe, $9.5 billion at one point.
Yeah, it was up there.
And that is all gone.
She conned some pretty smart people, Henry Kissinger and all kinds of big people. And they invested $100 million with this situation. She raised over $1 billion with a non-working product. And you got another video for us. So,
and it's really put a scar on Silicon Valley. I think a lot of people aren't even aware of this story.
Well, the Silicon Valley is a scamola. A lot of the startups are like this, but she went big. I mean, she went for the big donut. Dropped out of school, used the rest of her tuition, got it out of her parents. Has anybody ever interviewed her parents to see what Not probably not.
Not that I'm aware of, but this is the biggest Silicon Valley scandal.
Oh, definitely.
In its history.
But she's pretty talented scam artist.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. She did a great job. Very charismatic. Yep. So we're gonna do a little bit of this. I believe this should go into the relationship with her partner.
Holmes, the founder of the former health technology company Theranos, faced cross-examination today for the first time in the fraud case against her. Federal prosecutors have called 29 witnesses over 11 weeks in an attempt to reveal the alleged deception that led investors and patients to believe the company could conduct a range of tests using just a few drops of blood. The startup collapsed in 2018. Rebecca Jarvis is the chief business, technology, and economics correspondent for ABC News and the host of The Dropout, a podcast about Holmes and the ongoing trial which is being held in San Jose. Rebecca Jarvis, thank you very much for being with us. The defense has only begun its side. The prosecution has spent, almost 2 months making this case, or even longer. If you can sum up what the prosecution was trying to do.
Well, Judy, the prosecution has shown now in meticulous detail their allegations that Elizabeth Holmes was the one in charge of her company, Theranos, that she's the reason investors, patients, and doctors were defrauded here. And they've shown us individuals, including investors, patients. We've heard from doctors. We've heard from scientists inside the company. We've heard from scientists outside the company in meticulous detail, laying out this fraud and putting Elizabeth Holmes at the center of it.
And she has just, as we said, taken the stand, I guess, just before Thanksgiving. She's only, we've only heard from her for a few days, but it's been dramatic, including her discussing being raped in college. Give us a sense of what she's saying and what the reaction's been.
Well, Judy, this has been explosive testimony. We have barely heard from Elizabeth Holmes since these charges were first brought, and frankly have never heard some of the things that she's now been saying on the stand, and seen her in the way that she's behaved on the stand, getting emotional, talking about, as you mentioned, being raped as a college student at Stanford, that being, according to her, one of the reasons she decided to drop out of Stanford and begin her blood testing company, Theranos. And she's also raised these allegations, which we thought might come up at this trial, against her former boyfriend and COO, Sunny Balwani, alleging years of abuse in the relationship, alleging it was emotional, it was physical. He dictated everything from her schedule to the way that she ate. Now, these are claims he has denied vociferously, but these are claims that she raised, and they are something that certainly the jurors now are going to have to think about as they think about the bigger picture question, which is, did this woman intend to commit fraud?
And what?
So, yeah, that's some pretty shocking stuff, bringing up the reason why she dropped out of Stanford due to rape.
Yeah, it's all pretty strange. And in closing,
very bizarre way to defend herself.
Well, here's what she's trying to do here. The last link is an article. It's out of Fortune. And basically, they introduced a bunch of stuff that Sunny had sent to her, handwritten stuff. And part of it was several documents that were submitted in handwritten instructions to her from Balwani on how to live and lead her business, according to the Wall Street Journal. Now, on the first page, which is titled Non-Negotiables, parentheses people, lists 4 bullets on how to manage time and other people. The advice includes never meeting with anyone for more than 5 minutes and giving crisp, clean goals to subordinates, especially if they don't like it. Ooh. Nice moss there. A quote, I will not assume that people will do the right or moral thing. They are not motivated but by what I am motivated by. And then it says, don't feed pasta and pesto to fish. I'm still working on what he's trying to say there. But anyway, the note says, I will learn what makes them tick and use that as bait to motivate them. All right, and the second page is titled Pursuit of Success in Business. And it reads that there are some people who are naturally successful in business and others who, quote, who don't have the natural instinct. And Holmes says, in court, he was talking about me. Okay. I needed to kill the person I was to become what he called the new Elizabeth. She should have said, I needed to kill the person if I was to become, but that's okay. Anyway, she said, I needed to kill the person I was to become what he called the new Elizabeth, to become a successful entrepreneur. Now, that's her defense. But the key word there is I needed to. Now, why did she need to do that? And because she needed to do that, become a successful entrepreneur? Right? So she needed to do that. Or is it she needed to do it, otherwise Sonny wouldn't be happy? So I don't know. You're the jury.
Yeah, well, it doesn't look like a good case.
I don't see how she can get away with this brilliant stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I'm wondering what's going to happen with, like, what happened to all the billions that was raised, right? $1 billion was raised. Where is that money? And what are the chances of people getting anything back?
Although probably a bunch of civil lawsuits. This is a criminal lawsuit, and I'm sure that will be followed by years of civil lawsuits.
The money, she has to still have a large amount of the money. Has to be somewhere.
Well, we'll find out, won't we? Stay tuned, kids. This is going to go on for years because Sonny's going to court next year, and that should be funny.
You think it'll go? So you think it'll drag on for 2 years, maybe more?
Well, no, because of the civil cases. This is a criminal case.
So multiple cases, not just one trial.
So going back to where's the money, that's a civil matter. So once they finish convicting these people, or not, or to whatever degree they convict them, then the civil suits will start. And Kissinger versus Theranos, and where's the money, and where'd the money go, and who's got the money, and there you go. It's going to be great, but I don't know. It's ongoing. It's a developing story.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving on, we've got Pegasus updates from NSO.
Speaking of, now we're moving into civil. These are civil cases, ladies and gentlemen. And for those of you who don't know, civil cases have to do with money, and criminal cases have to do with breaking the law. For those of you who just woke up or got here.
And yeah, Apple is suing NSO, the makers of the Pegasus, but I want to take a look at 2 articles about additional public statements of additional targets of the Pegasus software. Out of citizenlab.ca, devices of Palestinian human rights defenders hacked with NSO Group's Pegasus spyware.
Whoa.
So yet the list grows from what we know, and it's just in October of this year, human rights non-governmental organization NGO Frontline Defenders began collecting data on the suspected hacking of the devices of several Palestinians working for civil society organizations based in the West Bank. FLD shared the data they collected with the Citizen Lab and Amnesty International Security Lab for separate independent peer review of their initial findings. Of the 6 individuals, 3 consented to be named. Of these 3, 2 individuals are dual nationals, one French, the other American. Further, all 3 work at NGOs designated terrorist organizations by the Israeli government in October 2021.
Whoa.
And I want to take a look at this one real quick. This is from Reuters. U.S. State Department phones hacked with Israeli company spyware. Apple Inc. phones, as of at least 9 U.S. State Department employees were hacked by an unknown assailant using sophisticated spyware developed by the Israeli-based NSO. According to 4 people familiar with the matter, the hacks, which took place in the last several months, hit U.S. officials either based in Uganda or focused on matters concerning the East African country, 2 of the sources said. The intrusions first reported here represent the widest known hacks of U.S. officials through NSO technology. Previously, a list of numbers with potential targets, including some American officials, surfaced in reporting on NSO, but it was not clear whether intrusions were always tried or succeeded. So the list continues to grow with the Pegasus exploits, and I've got a video on Apple's lawsuit. This is a long video, but I'm going to just do a little bit of it here. Got to get it queued up.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Today in Tech. I'm Julia Beauchamp, and I'm here with Computer World senior reporter Lucas Mirian, as well as Computer World executive editor Ken Mingus. We are live on Computer World's LinkedIn page, as well as on YouTube on our channel, IDG Tech Talk. So if you are watching, please do, if you have any questions while we're discussing, let us know in either the comments, if you're watching on LinkedIn. The Pegasus spyware, which is made by NSO Group, which is a technology firm, and Apple has now sued NSO Group, basically saying that the spyware was allegedly used for surveillance of very specific and targeted people. And they also want to, in this lawsuit, ban NSO Group from using any Apple products, software, etc. So to give a brief overview, I want to talk a little bit more about kind of what it means for digital rights, but I do think a brief overview is important. And so, Ken, would you mind telling us a little bit about what the Pegasus spyware is, how we kind of got here to everything up until the lawsuit, basically?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me, Juliet. Pegasus, as you may remember, is the spyware that suddenly seemed to show up on a bunch of reporters' devices. It was either earlier this year or it might have even been last summer. I can't remember now. It's been known about for probably the better part of a year, I would say. And it was created by NSO Group, which swears that it's not designed to allow governments to spy on people. But that's sort of like, the open secret, because the assumption is that governments get hold of this. They try to implant it on devices of, maybe groups that they're watching in their country, reporters that they want to keep track of what they're doing. And once it's on the device, it really allows whoever's, implanting this thing to access everything, everything of import on a phone, messages, emails, pictures, I think location data. And so what Apple has done basically, and they were very blunt in the lawsuit that they filed, basically accusing NSO Group, which is an Israeli firm, of doing this intentionally. And so what Apple is trying to do here, I should just note, Lucas wrote about this in the last week or so, and Apple's claims are pretty specific. Violations of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, violations of the California Business and Professions Code, breach of contract because they affected iCloud terms of service, and unjust enrichment. Okay, now that's all kind of dry language. But basically what Apple did with the lawsuit is accuse NSO Group of running a surveillance ring or allowing these countries, dictatorial, authoritarian countries, to use this software to spy. And, one of the things that's becoming very clear is that NSO Group doesn't really want to talk about, who's using its software and how it might be used and what NSO knows about that. And so what's going to happen here if this suit goes forward, and this is the second time that NSO Group has been sued. They were sued by, was it Snapchat, Lucas?
I think it was WhatsApp.
WhatsApp. Thank you. Yeah. But discovery here is going to be really important because it basically allows Apple and the public to kind of peek behind the curtain and see what NSO Group is really up to.
So that's the basics of it. We'll have to see if the case goes through to court. But yeah, WhatsApp, which was basically gobbled up by Facebook, has tried before to sue NSO,
right?
And Apple's taken their stab at it. So I think they've got a good shot at getting this to court.
I would think,
and it'll have big ramifications. I think it's needed. It would be great if they were successful in preventing NSO from distributing Pegasus, because it's the whole market. When the internet, early days of the internet, there wasn't much e-commerce, and then it slowly, everything then came online, and now we're in the present day where there's just so much business is done financially, e-commerce, everything, and companies like Apple need to be able to prevent this from happening. Back in the day, it was all underground on the dark web, a lot of it out of Russia, but Israel has really taken the forefront with a lot of tech companies on the spyware front, working with governments, and it's got to be shut down.
Developing this type of invasive software is what you're getting to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know it's and the thing is that espionage can be used in so many different forms. Industrial espionage and stealing trade secrets, and then of course the government espionage upon each other and upon itself and on private citizens and all of that, and then just stray characters that may be able to access the software to spy on people that they just don't like, and there's a lot of that going around, that people in powerful positions get a disliking for somebody, and I think your last president had a kind of a bent that way. Sorry, I don't mean to put anybody down, No, I'm trying to be fair here. It's your country. Well, it's everybody's country. It's the United States of the world. But yeah, Pegasus, we were one of the first people to cover it, I believe, and it first popped up on the radar. So it's good it's starting to get more attention. And I imagine there'll be more media.
Yeah, and I think, I'd like to see a long-term solution with blockchain, crypto. Devices really need to move towards protecting an individual's identity with these devices, mobile devices.
And it applies to us, too, in the media business. Dissemination of information. That's the first line of defense for democracy and freedom. Is the
reporters, these state actors have been using Pegasus to go after reporters and politicians. Yeah. So that's very troubling issue to deal with, and the whole authentication system, the whole privacy apparatus for these devices needs to be built back up from the ground up in order to protect reporters, politicians, what have you.
It's probably a bigger story,
so they can do their jobs.
I would imagine it's a bigger story than most people realize, because they go, well, that doesn't going to affect me, but it affects you definitely. Anybody, when you start getting into the freedom of information and the manipulation of currency and the manipulation of opposition in politics. So I think it's a bigger story than most people see it as.
And moving on, we have crypto news. We got crypto updates.
Crypto to the masses.
And slowly across the world, more and more countries are looking at some type of central bank digital currency. And out of blockchain.news, we have Japan's major banks join consortium of private firms to launch a yen-based digital currency. So basically CBDC. Consortium of 79 Japanese firms, including the country's largest bank, have joined forces to participate in the trial and potential launch of a new digital version of the Japanese yen in fiscal 2022.
Wow.
Led by a startup, Decurrent Cryptocurrency Exchange, these private firms are developing a platform known as Digital Currency, JPY, to ensure that bank deposits will back the digital currency. Hence, The DCJPY will be a liability of each of the banks. The initiative seeks to launch a yen-based digital currency in fiscal 2022 after testing trials in the coming months. So definitely the United States Fed is looking at this, and Powell has now taken the helm at the Federal Reserve and has been talking about a trial and research for a central bank digital currency in the U.S.
It's inevitable.
And Yellen, who's been yelling about, our Secretary of the Treasury, has been yelling about the CBDC for quite some time now.
And now it's time for Yellen.
From her perch. So it's, I think definitely by 2023.
It's coming
you'll
on.
You'll see it finally in 2023 in the U.S. And then moving on, we've got Canadian.
Yeah.
Well, what is this here? Yeah, this is out of Canada. Or just Financial Post.
Yeah, they're both out of Canada.
So this is from financialpost.com. Purpose Investment launches world's first actively managed and covered call cryptocurrency ETFs.
Way to go, Canada.
Global crypto digital asset management leader launches 3 new cryptocurrency ETFs to help investors turn the volatility of cryptocurrency into opportunities for investor portfolios. Now, Canada's leading the way here in North America. The United States has been very cautious. We only have, for some reason, a futures Bitcoin exchange traded fund, or ETF. We don't have an ETF where you can actually invest directly into Bitcoin. But this here, Canada is definitely moving forward rapidly on the cryptocurrency realm.
Yeah. That figures.
The Canadian dollar denominated ETF non-currency hedge units of the yield ETFs will begin trading on the Toronto Stock Exchange today, and this was posted November 30th.
Rock and roll.
ETF units, Canadian dollar denominated ETF hedged units, and U.S. dollar denominated ETF non-currency hedged units of Purpose Crypto Opportunities ETF will begin trading today under the tickers CRYP, CRYP.B, and CRYP.U, respectively.
Yeah.
So, good news for Canada.
Way to go.
And this is only going to make the U.S. Get their act together.
Well, definitely. And as we were discussing on the pre-show we did yesterday, Canada has a bit more fluidity and communication. There aren't as many banks. There aren't as many special interests. The government has, it's cohesive. Our system is simply it's less divided, hence more cohesive.
So this is out of ca.finance.yahoo.com. And as cryptocurrencies grow in popularity, the CD Howe Institute says the Bank of Canada should issue a digital dollar to take advantage of advances in payments technology. The think tank says the digital currency should be a stable coin, like Tether. Tether in the crypto markets is a stable coin in a new report. Unlike other cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, stable coins are linked to fiat currency or conventional assets. In this case, digital currency would be linked to the Canadian dollar and could be converted to cash.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be coming. That could be coming next year. If the speed and this momentum keeps up.
It will. And CD Howe, by the way, is a very conservative think tank. It's definitely, these people are not out of the box at all. They are the box. So they start saying stuff like that, and the government and the Bank of Canada, etc., it's basically they're endorsing the idea, and they're just not some kind of opinion. They're an institute. They're an institution. They are the institution, actually, as far as the old school industrial economic situation. And then, of course, in the new school of money. Yeah, and most of the people in the C.D. Howe Institute, they're probably not really great candidates to have over for a barbecue because they're probably not going to do anything really odd. But the new type of people do things like get whistleblowers for their whistleblowers.
So well, that gets to the next story here. Let's get this dialed up. Elon Musk is in the news yet again. He has come out with a $50 mock whistle.
Yep.
For employees that blew the whistle within his company. And
a mock whistle? You mean it doesn't even work?
Yeah. Hey, I'm not sure. It may not.
What? For $50? And it doesn't work?
But yeah, $50 cyber whistle and a dig at whistleblowers and Apple. He's ripping it up. He's just tearing everybody up.
Yeah, he doesn't sleep, right? You told me that.
No, I think he sleeps under his desk.
Uh-huh.
Above the warehouse.
Is he an Android?
Tesla warehouse. He probably is. Yeah, he's like him and Zuckerberg, I think, are Androids.
Let me call Q. I got Q on my quick. I'll call him while we play the video. See what Q says.
All right, I'm gonna play a couple minutes of this.
Elon Musk has a new product out. After electric cars and private space trips, he's now selling something more humble. A whistle. Not just any whistle. A whistle worth $50, 50, believe it or not. Clearly, this is not about business. So what message is Elon Musk trying to send with this cyber whistle? And does he really have time for such social media shenanigans? Because it turns out Elon Musk's SpaceX is headed for bankruptcy.
When Elon Musk tweets, most of the world has the same reaction. What's he done now? Well, this time he is selling a whistle. This one, to be specific. He's calling it the Tesla Cyber Whistle. It's $50 a piece. And guess what? It's already sold out. For that price, you would expect this whistle to do something special. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. It's just like any other whistle. Looks better, but nothing more. So why is Elon Musk wading into the highly competitive whistle market? Apparently, to crack a joke. Elon Musk is taking a swipe at Tesla whistleblowers, like Jessica Barraza. She was a worker at Tesla's Fremont factory, and last month, she made some damning allegations. The factory was a hotbed of sexual harassment. Barraza talked about catcalls, inappropriate touching, all of which was happening on a daily basis. In the last few months, many such whistleblowers have popped up at Tesla. But Elon Musk finds it funny. His uncontrollable revenge streak is well documented. It has created colorful reports, like this one. When Elon Musk tried to destroy a Tesla whistleblower. That's Elon for you. Talks about spreading life on Mars while suppressing harassment survivors on Earth.
So, yeah, there it is. You can get the $50 Elon Musk whistle.
What? Wait. Everything was going pretty good today. I thought I had a grip on reality, and I just lost it.
Well, he's all over the place. I mean, but this is how Musk markets himself. He's also been getting into jabs with Bernie Sanders and making public statements that politicians in the U.S. shouldn't be able to hold office if they're older than 70 years old.
Well,
tweeting stuff out like that. I mean, it gets him out there. It's great marketing.
Well, marketing, dude. This guy is like the pet rock guy. He's selling whistles for $50, and he sells out. Like, if we tried to sell whistles for $5, man, we probably couldn't. But he makes money doing whatever.
Yeah, he knows how to market it.
Well,
classic.
All right, Elon. Well, he seems to be staying legal with all this stuff, more or less. He got in trouble with the Federal Trade Commission, I think, over tweeting that he was going to sell his stock or something, but he's not like Elizabeth. Anyway.
Well, he's been fined before by the FTC or whatever. I think it's FTC.
Yeah.
He's been fined before in the past for manipulating pricing with his tweets, and they fined him. I think they even tried to make him step down as CEO.
Yeah,
but he just got around it.
Yeah, he does.
Bided his time.
Money will buy you freedom.
So it's that time of the show. It's bizarre news time.
Yeah, we don't have a lot. We got some bizarre weather.
That's let me check something real quick.
I didn't paraphrase this, but basically, I think it's just an article. Yeah. Oh, it's out of the Missoulian. Hopefully it works. Missoulian.
Well, I should have two links. There we go. There's the other link. We're going to do the blizzard warning in Hawaii first?
Yeah, let's do that one. We'll save the hookers for last.
Save the hookers for last. All right.
Yeah. Could be a bumper sticker.
This is out of Missoulian.com. Blizzard warning in Hawaii.
Missoula, Montana, baby. All right, check it out. There's 2 states that have blizzard warnings, and one of them is Alaska, which makes sense. But the other one is Hawaii, which doesn't make a lot of sense. It does get snow. Last time they had snow was 3.5 years ago. I just remember what the article said. And but now they're going to have blizzard conditions, which I used to be a weather spotter for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, otherwise known as the National Weather Service, out of Missoula, Montana. And to qualify as a blizzard, you have to have sustained winds of 35 miles an hour. Temperature has to be below 0 degrees Fahrenheit, and it has to be snowing a whole bunch. So that's going to happen, or is happening right now. And the rest of the islands are getting a lot of really cold rain. So if you're planning to go to Hawaii for Christmas, you might want to take your skis. And it's warmer than in Colorado, I think it says there somewhere.
Well, yeah, this is pretty amazing here. It's been 224 consecutive days and counting since it snowed a measurable amount in Denver, and it has broken the record for the latest date for a first snowfall, record that has held since snowfall records began in 1882. In that time, Denver has never entered December without measurable snow.
That's not good.
Meanwhile, Hawaii has flood watches and blizzard warnings in effect.
Weird.
The extended dry period in Colorado has implications for the state's long-standing drought, a dwindling water supply, and a population that wants to hit the slopes. So, yeah.
It's kind of all backwards. It's like BC, Canada, had the hottest place in North America, set records higher temperature in the Fraser Canyon last summer than Las Vegas's record. That's pretty crazy. And then the last one we dug up at the last minute, but I happen to have had the link, and it's a Canadian.
Wow.
And this was very entertaining. It's only 2 minutes. And I lived in Vancouver during this particular period of time that they're talking about. And it was quite colorful there on the West End.
It kind of reminds me of the Tenderloin in San Francisco, a little bit smaller. But
yeah, but it was cleaner. You know, a Canadian version. You know, it was kind of more open, a little bit more user-friendly, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. And anyway, this is Squire Barnes, who's usually the sports guy. And this is he made up a little clip. He might know something about this subject. I don't know. I'm only speculating. He's been around. All right, Squire.
4 decades ago, Vancouver's West End was the location of a clash between sex workers and residents. City Hall and the provincial government. Squire Barnes reports on how those turbulent times helped shape the neighborhood. Let's give this a play.
That's my city.
Most days of the year, Davie Street in the West End of Vancouver are like this, rather idyllic spots. But 40 years ago, the streets were a lot meaner.
In 1982, there were more murders in the West End than there were in the downtown East Side.
And parts of this neighborhood seemed like an open-air brothel.
You know, any given night, there were 200 or 300 sex workers on the street, male and female. And, you know, but the comings and goings of some of the traffic were constant and going till 3, 4 in the morning.
In his newest book, Vancouver Vice, Aaron Chapman chronicles a time in Vancouver that a lot of its current citizens don't know about.
It was some of the wildest years we had just before Expo, before we kind of cleaned ourselves up for the family photo in many ways.
Studies were done, committees were formed, meetings were held to deal with the situation with prostitution and the West End.
People engaged in the activities of selling sex on our streets have practically commandeered whole areas.
Citizens started a Shame the John program to discourage would-be customers.
When you see a car go by and they're going to pick up a hooker, just stare at them.
There was another idea to chase away customers, and it's the only remnants of the battle between sex workers and residents.
We're standing right now on one of the original barricades. 40 years ago, in November 1981, the city put up in the West End a bunch of traffic barricades to ostensibly curb some of the street prostitution, in this case an actual curb.
The city put up about a half dozen of these, none of which are gone. Some have turned into little parks, like this one on Nicola and Pendrell.
These barricades are sort of a secret, lying right in sort of plain sight in that regard, because the neighborhood gives almost no indication of the turbulence of those years.
A provincial injunction in 1984 was what finally removed open prostitution from the West End. And aside from the Sex Workers Memorial, which is on Jervis Street, these barriers in the West End are all that's left from those years.
Even people who were around those years may have forgotten why some of these things are here. But they make up kind of the DNA of the city that way, and that's what is fascinating about them.
Wow.
I love it.
So a little trip back in time to the
I
early
love the
1980s.
vehicles. The cop car with the bubbles on top of it. Oh, man, those were the days. Actually, I moved to Vancouver full-time. I used to be in and out of the city, of course. I lived there full-time I had a steady gig, a bunch of them, but one in particular, from 87 to into the 90s. And they had moved out of that area, and they all moved over around Granville Street to the east, or just off Granville Street on Richards and stuff like that. And it's still thriving industry. It's not as classy as it used to be, because the crackheads are undercutting them. Oh yeah, there's the car.
This looks very suburban.
Oh,
it's
well,
really
that's
strange.
Vancouver.
You got a streetwalker right there, and it looks, like there's houses, and it looks very suburban.
Well, that's a
residential. It's bizarre.
That is like super. The West End, Vancouver, is right next to Stanley Park. It's a high-end residential neighborhood. For the downtown core, it is the high-end residential.
So was it legal? Was the prostitution legal at that time?
Well, the thing is, there's a lot of. Yeah, it's a Canadian thing. It's kind of illegal, but it's not really illegal. We do that up here a lot with soft crimes like prostitution and drugs and stuff. It's kind of like they get the law, but then, the cops don't really have the money, and the courts don't really care, and the jails are full of people anyway. So, no, it's quasi-legal. Yeah, it's not really legal, but it's quasi-legal. But yeah, we don't have that many brothels, so it's pretty much street.
What got rid of it?
There in the West End?
Yeah, was it gone by like 1990? What?
Oh yeah, yeah. With what they said, the Shame the Johns thing worked really good. Because the citizens were out there and they were taking pictures of people before social media, but they were harassing the customers more than the prostitutes. And Then the barriers, it made it harder to cruise the area because they built the barriers. So you couldn't just cruise up and down those streets. And then probably police presence just kind of scared the Johns away. And so the hookers it wasn't a good neighborhood for them to work. So they moved over to Richards, more or less around Granville area, and deeper into the core. And it's kind of migrated farther east into the downtown east side. And I still am going to do the Vancouver special, assuming that I'm able to get to Vancouver again to do some follow-up. So who knows? I can't go there now unless I flew because of highways, as we discussed earlier. So, yeah, I think that's about all the material we have. We did pretty good. An hour and 20 minutes. We're getting more succinct.
We had a solid stream.
Things are looking up.
No interruptions.
Looked really good, really tight. Lighting was. And we just want to thank everybody who's watching, and also thank anybody that's re-watching, because we'll be restreaming this, and also it's going to be up on a few different platforms. It's usually on Trovo for a while. It's on D-Live for just a little while.
Just about 3 days. Twitter Live will have it up for a long time.
Yeah. So
but we're gonna do a rebroadcast on all those major platforms tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Nice. I'm gonna be at a jam
tomorrow
session.
Also.
Yeah. We're getting out of the house today, man. I'm going to a jam session at the Dam Inn.
Nice.
Yeah, should be good. And next week we are going to climb the mountain and do a special on energy. We're going to be covering
fusion power.
Fusion, which is a potential, basically the holy grail, if they can develop it. But also we're going to go over just what the heck is going on. Currently with fossil fuels, where it's coming from, the pricing of it, alternatives, new alternatives, old alternatives, wind power. Wind power has been around forever because people used to use it definitely on the prairies and stuff. And it's what they used to get water out of the well, stuff like that.
I also want to take a look. There's a lot of advertising, a lot of hype around Tesla batteries and solar power. You put the panels up and then you store the energy in the Tesla battery. Make it more efficient.
Any form
when the sun's not shining.
Battery backup for just about everything.
We've got JMFS in the chat. I'm saying about those beans. I'm thinking about those beans.
Beans?
Wow.
You knew about I did make chili. Well, darn. Come on over. I got a big pot of homemade chili, dude.
Well, damn, you got to share.
Well, I wish I could. Meta. I'll do a meta chili.
We'll do a metaverse where we serve up chili, some ribs.
Yeah.
Lobster. I don't know.
Just like in the Matrix.
And we'll have Mark Zuckerberg there.
Yeah, we're gonna have everybody.
Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos. Invite everybody.
Marilyn Monroe.
Whoa.
Yeah, we're getting her.
Wow.
And she's going to sing, "Happy Birthday, Mr. President." No, she isn't. And then we got another show coming up this month. It's the Christmas show. And
that's going to be December 19th.
Everything you didn't want to know about Christmas, like who the heck is St. Nicholas? What kind of saint is he anyway? Why did they have Christmas in December instead of when we heard Christ was born in June? And if you have children, you might not want to have them watch, because we're going to talk about Santa Claus, and maybe it does exist. Maybe the earth is flat. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. You don't want to ruin it for the kids.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to take it on personally and see if I can confirm Santa Claus's identity or not. I do have some contacts.
You know what? Talk to your lawyers about it.
No, I have contacts.
Yeah.
I have contacts in the Northwest Territories, which is way the heck up there. It was 32 below zero in Yellowknife the other day. Like, low.
Wow.
Yeah. But I'll get in touch with him because he probably knows some, he's an indigenous person, and he might know some people that, maybe you think that the Claus would get out of the house once in a while, go down to the local canteen and share something.
Well, there's a big game that came out, Battlefront 2042, and they for some reason put in a Santa Claus skin in the game, so you could fight as Santa Claus. I'll do a little excerpt on that.
All right, we'll do that.
There's a lot of controversy over that Santa Claus.
That's coming up on the 19th, just before Christmas, and then I don't know what's going to happen the day after Christmas. We might rebroadcast something or something.
Yeah, we're gonna rebroadcast the December 19th show.
Yeah, so
because that'll be December 26th, Boxer Day in Canada.
Boxing Day.
Boxing Day.
Yeah, it's a national holiday the day after Christmas in Canada, and also in England. We got the good stuff from England, and
we'll go over what Boxing Day is about. I don't think a lot of people know about it here in the U.S., so it'd be good to know.
Nobody does. Listen, most Americans don't even know Canada exists. If you said, "What's a Canada?" and they go, "Canada Dry."
They think it's a soft drink.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, we about wrapped it up.
That's it. Darn.
That's it.
Over?
It's almost 5:30.
What am I going to do?
I'd like to thank everybody for hanging out. JMFS in the chat. Bean power, wind power.
Bean
It's
here
all about
now.
wind power and the beans.
Yeah.
All right, so we are signing off, and we will be back next week for the Canuck Yankee show at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific.
Energy.
Big energy show. Think energy.
Yep.
All right, everybody. See you on the other side.